let's talk about something so many families go through. You know the scene? The morning arguments, the slammed doors, the teenager who just will not go to school. It's incredibly frustrating, and honestly, it's painful for everyone. But what if what we're seeing on the surface isn't the real story at all? This is almost always the first thought, right? A parent, at the end of their rope, sees a kid being defiant, undisciplined, or just plain lazy. And look, you can kind of get why they'd think that, but it almost always misses the deeper, much more complicated story that's happening inside. So, Act 1, the misjudgment. Let's start by looking at this problem from the outside in, through the eyes of everyone who is just feeling frustrated and blamed. Meet our man. For him, that alarm clock isn't a gentle wake-up call. It's like the starting gun for a daily war. The pressure to just get up, get ready, and face the day feels like this impossible physical weight, leaving him totally frozen in bed while the world outside his room just gets louder and more tense. From the outside, you can see how the story gets written, right? His parents, they're worried, but they're also seeing a son who seems to be throwing his future away. His teacher sees a lack of respect, a lack of commitment. That empty chair in the classroom becomes the symbol of his failure. And all of it, all these different viewpoints, they funnel down into one simple, powerful, and totally wrong label: lazy. All right, Act 2, inside the anxious mind. Now, we're going to flip the script. We're moving away from what everyone else sees to what Arman is actually feeling on the inside. You see, for Arman, school isn't just school anymore. His brain has completely rewired its meaning. The hallways, the classrooms, even the faces of his friends have become triggers. A place that's supposed to be safe now feels incredibly dangerous. And this isn't just a thought, it's a full-body experience. Voices get muffled and sound menacing. The walls of the classroom feel like they are literally closing in on him, and his heart is just pounding in his ears. This is pure, overwhelming panic. So you have to ask, why? Why is this happening? This is the question that changes everything. It moves us past judgment and towards real understanding. I mean, why would a brain have such an extreme reaction to something as ordinary as school? The answer isn't in his character. It's in his brain chemistry. And this is the moment of clarity, delivered by the school counselor. This one idea reframes the entire situation. The behavior that looks like defiance is actually a survival instinct gone haywire. His brain isn't trying to cause trouble, it's desperately trying to protect him from a danger that feels completely real. It all comes down to the fight-or-flight response. This is an ancient, hardwired survival circuit deep in our brains. It's designed to save us from, a predator jumping out of the bushes. The problem is that ancient part of the brain can't tell the difference between a real tiger and the perceived threat of a crowded hallway or a pop quiz. So let's break down how that internal alarm system works. First, the amygdala. Think of it as the brain's super-sensitive smoke detector. Senses a threat and yanks the fire alarm. This unleashes a flood of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And here's the crucial part. That chemical surge temporarily shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical part of our brain. So Arman isn't choosing this. His logical brain isn't even in the driver's seat anymore. His body is literally preparing for a life or death fight. This gives us a whole new dictionary for what's happening. We have to reframe it. Where we see lazy, the neurological reality is anxious. What looks defiant is actually overwhelmed. And what we judge as a bad choice is really an involuntary biological response. Which brings us to Act 3, understanding and support. Because once you have this new knowledge, the path forward starts to look completely different. The moment Arman's parents and his teacher finally get the why behind his behavior, the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly, the goal isn't to win an argument, it's to help him feel safe. Judgment is replaced by empathy, and that constant conflict just starts to dissolve. And this understanding leads to real action. Instead of blame, you have safe conversations. Instead of rigid demands, you have small, gradual steps. Maybe just aiming for one class, or even just walking to the school gate. All that intense pressure gets replaced with patience. And as the approach changes, the whole feeling of the situation changes with it. That cold, tense atmosphere of the morning battlefield starts to warm up. The gray tones of anxiety are replaced by the hopeful light of connection and real progress. Now, this isn't a magical fix. It's a new beginning.
The victory here isn't Armand magically loving school overnight. It's not about a perfect attendance record. The real victory is the first supported step. It's seeing him walk towards the school, not because he was forced, but because he knows he has a team behind him ready to catch him if he stumbles.
So here's the core takeaway. School refusal is not a character flaw. It's a symptom. It's a sign that the brain's threat detection system is in overdrive, responding to stress that has become completely overwhelming. And that leaves us with a challenge, doesn't it? In our own lives, with our children, our students, our friends, how can we learn to just pause before we label? How can we learn to look past the behavior on the surface and listen for the anxiety that might be screaming just underneath it?